Well, good morning, good afternoon, and let me go ahead and show my screen here. So I'm in Plant 3D 2020, and I'm just in an orthographic drawing, and we're not going through creating orthographic drawings. I'm going to go ahead and hit New View, and right here, the Select Reference Models. I'm just going to select all the reference models, and it opens up this Orthographic View Selection drawing. This is what we're going to be concentrating on now. And using this, we'll actually be going to the orthographic drawings and placing them and stuff. But we're mainly going to concentrate on this environment right here of when you're dealing with the Ortho Cube, which is the big box you see right in the middle of the screen, and different files that are related to this. We're going to start out very basic, and we're going to build from there. So if you are an advanced user, don't worry. We'll get to some stuff that you maybe never tried or knew before at the end, but in the beginning it will be very basic because we're going to just, again, we're going to review this entire environment that we're in here and the ribbon menu that's involved with this. First of all, being in this new view, you will see the environment I'm in has the grid turned on. As far as this down here is turned on, which is something I don't like. So personally, when I come in here, I would have the habit of turning this off. Other things that will happen here is, for instance, if you hit the little house up here on the 3D cube, you'll see it went to southwest isometric, but it also went to a perpendicular or perspective mode. Now, in the earlier versions of Plant 3D, you could not create an orthographic drawing if it was in a perspective mode. So it was something you constantly were coming up here and having to change back to parallel. Even though that's not true in 2020, and I believe this is the first release where that is not true, maybe 2019, I can't remember trying it back then. But only recently were you able to create an orthographic view while in perspective mode. My habit is to get out of that. Plus, I particularly don't care for it. So my point is, another thing, I like to be in a southeast isometric mode to where basically this is my three most common views: top, front, and right side. Those are the three most common. So I have some things I prefer of how I like to be in this environment. So if you want to set this environment up so you don't have to constantly change it out of perspective to parallel, change the mode whenever, set that current home, you have to set the template file that this is reading. And this is not reading a normal template file. This has its own template file that works just for this environment of the orthographic view selection. So we're going to start there and look at that template file. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. And first I'm going to show you, if you went to your project, under orthos and styles, you'll see this OrthoTemp.dwt. For years, I was seeing on the blogs where people were complaining because this is the temp file or the template file that controls that environment. They were fixing this template file right here and nothing was happening. And the reason being is because it's actually not using that template file, even though everybody thinks it is. And I'm not even sure why the template file is in your project. I usually just delete it because it's really unnecessary and really has nothing to do with your project. It's just there from days gone by, I guess. The actual template file it's reading is in your regular path. If you went to open and you were set your file type down here to drawing template, you'll see in the regular template file of AutoCAD, there's that drawing. Same name, just in the actual location of your template files. That's the one it's actually reading. So it doesn't matter what was elsewhere on my computer, that one wins because that's the one it's reading. Even if you delete that one, though, it would never find the one in the project. So that's why I deleted it out of the project. It's really of no importance, so why carry it? But we're going to open up this one, and when we do, you can see this is the environment when it first opens up. If I hit, I'm already in a perspective mode in this template, but if I, for some reason, I can't get to the house. Also, let me change that right there. Let's see. It is Duck. There it goes. Okay, we're going to change this. I've had this happen with my graphics card recently to where I have to change. There we go. I had to change it from to 2D wireframe and back again to get my 3D cube working. I think that's a graphics card issue. But when I hit the home here, you can see it's southwest. It's in perspective, everything. This is exactly what was happening. So you can set this up. One of the things, like I said, I don't care for the grid, so I'm going to turn that off down here. I like to be, like I said, in a southeast isometric mode, parallel. So I'm going to go ahead and set that to where I'm southeast isometric parallel. And then I like to set a zoom factor in here so that it's actually going to be a little bit better. So I'm just going to do this. These are numbers I made up a long time ago that work for me. I'm going to do a zoom center. And the center point I'm going to use in this view is 300, 600 at a 1500 magnification. Again, those are just numbers I made up again, but this is 0, 0. So this puts my model right in here. And so that's just some numbers I came up with. You might need different ones for a bigger plant, but that way it's set where I want it. And I'm going to go up here to the little house and right click and set this current view as home. That way, every time I hit the house, it goes to southeast isometric at that zoom factor. And that's pretty much all I'm going to change. There may be other settings you want to change, units, or units really doesn't matter because it uses the units of the project, but maybe snap or something like that. Anything you want to change, you set in this template, and that's how it's going to be in that orthographic view selection when you start. So I'm going to save this one, but I'm not going to save it over the one in the box because I like to keep my templates elsewhere. So I'm going to save this with all my templates on my network where I keep them over here. So I'm keeping the same name, just saving it over there, just like an AutoCAD. I'm going to go ahead and save all the reconciled layers, and we'll close that. And so that it uses my templates, I'm going to go over here to the options of AutoCAD and set that template setting for the drawing template file location. I like to put it towards all my templates so that every time I open up a drawing, everything's working off the templates that I normally use. By doing all that, when I do new view here, you'll notice everything's already pre-checked. There it is, grid's turned off. It automatically goes to southwest isometric every time. I'm not sure why, but if I hit the little home up here, it's now going to a southeast isometric the way I like it. And it's got all the settings the way I want them. So this is that OrthoTemp. You can set up anything you want to be preset in this view selection drawing that gets created when we create a new view. Next, just as a little side note, right now you can see the grid of the structural grids on and the grading is on. That's going to be a little bit overpowering. I could turn those layers off in here and be just fine. But if you want them to always be off, because every time I do a new view, I'm going to have to turn those off if I want them off. If you want them to be always off, the best thing is cancel and go to your original source file, which in this case is my structural steel. And I'm just going to turn off the freeze, the grid, and the grading, so I don't have to deal with that every single view I create. So I'm going to save it. I can always go turn it back on if I need it on, and I can always turn it back on in the new view here. So now when I hit new view, come into this view selection, you can see my grid and my structural steel, my grading is all turned off. So this is kind of what I want in my actual views. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about some of these things on the ribbon and how they work in creating. But for the time being, I want to show you something about the View Cube initially. And I'm already in a top view here, which is what I'm going to stay in. So I'm going to go ahead and create this view as is, just so I can show you a couple of things that you need to be aware of. First of all, when I create this view, you can see the viewport. I've got mine going on a non-plotting layer because I always have set a viewport layer that I'm creating grid on from my orthographic template that I'm using for these drawings to create this. So right now it looks like I've just got concrete around my whole system. But if you went to a plot preview, you will see the box isn't going to print, so it doesn't show my concrete that's around there. It's only showing me the system without the concrete. And let me explain what's happening there. I'm going to stretch this viewport just a little bit each way. And as you see, when I do that, there's my concrete. The viewport was actually sitting on top of the concrete, and it's on a non-plotting layer. So because it was on the concrete, when I went to plot, there's no concrete around my system here. There's just the viewport covering it up. If I went to edit the view and did it right back again, it's going to go right back to what it was. As soon as I hit OK and come back in here, it's going to change everything right back to where my viewport is on top of my concrete. Therefore, it's not going to plot. Seems a little harmless, just stretch it and all that. But basically what's happening here is when you select your models. Now, when we first opened New View, we had a viewport. See this 3D selection right here? This is here so I can add additional drawings to my model. And these are referencing the models on the source files under Plant 3D. So I can reference them here. I can add them, take them out. But the very first time it just asked me. So I got this, I just said use both drawings. It makes this orthographic cube the exact same size as your model. So if you were to look at it, for instance, in a top view, it's the same size as my concrete. That also is the viewport it's going to create in the orthographic drawing. So therefore, if it's on a non-plotting layer, since it's the same size as my concrete, it covers it up. So you want to get in the habit of stretching your viewports large, or this Ortho Cube rather, which is equivalent to the viewport, larger than your image, so that everything will show up correctly in your drawing. So if I do that, you can see here, now my viewport's going to be larger, my concrete's going to show up, and I don't have the issue. And I won't have the issue from this point forward with this drawing. So again, we'll go to a plot preview, and you can see there's my concrete. Where it can really come into play, though, is I'm going to go ahead and change this to a front view. When you're working with the Ortho Cube, you can see there's green sides and there's the reddish side for the top. Whatever you have set here, the reddish part is the view you're creating. So if I come over here and change this to the front view, you can see the reddish side is now the front view and the top is now green. So it's going to create a front view orthographic drawing. In this particular case, when it does that, what you're going to see happening is the bottom of my concrete won't be there, which is negligible in my opinion at this point. But the main thing is my piping above the heat exchanger up in the upper left, because the viewport height was the same as my the top of my system, I don't get that a printout of that very top piece of pipe. So for that reason, you need to make sure you always adjust the 6 sides of the cube, not just the plan view, but the height and the depth, so that every view adjacent that you create is going to be created without the issue of piping or something that you need being hidden behind the viewport. So you always want your viewport larger, the Ortho Cube larger than your entire system in all 4 views. Fortunately, you can save this, and we'll talk about saving and creating our ortho libraries later. But I want to get this drawing back to a top view, and I want to just quickly go over your settings here, which is hidden line piping is the default, but then you can also do all hidden lines and no hidden lines. So we'll start with the all hidden lines just to let you see it, and we'll do this as we're doing some other things so that we're not constantly coming back in here and changing stuff. And you can see here with all hidden lines, you literally get hidden lines for everything. So the web and the fillets on the steel. You can see the railing, the bracing below it, every little thing. So it gets kind of overbearing, but some people like to see all hidden lines. And that's what here you're getting all hidden lines, whether it's piping or not. When you are using any of the others, for this case, I'm going to just go ahead and put it back to hidden line piping, which is the default and my favorite. And then we're going to go to another drawing to talk about match lines before we get too much deeper. And you can see here this drawing is going to have only hidden lines at piping at this point. So the piping that's going under the steel, I've got the hidden lines, but I don't have it with the steel itself and other equipment. So that's basically where those have. You have one other option, which is no hidden lines, which means you wouldn't even get it for the piping. But let's go ahead and save this drawing and move over and talk about match lines. So I'm going to go here to sheet 2. And this is where we're going to work with the match lines on sheet 2 and 3. And the first thing is, let's talk about a drawing that you may have seen here when I opened it up earlier called Ortho Symbol Styles. This is where you save the symbols or the blocks that are being used in the orthographic drawings. If you open it up, there's only a few in there. Let me get to drawing. And then in the project itself, under orthos and styles, you'll see this drawing. So this drawing here is basically, I'm going to go to the block editor. It contains these blocks right here. So these are the ones for the match line east, north, south, and west. Also, here's the open pipe. So this is the cut pipe symbol, which we'll talk about in a second, but this is where that symbol has been created. And this is the pipe gap for if you're creating pipe gaps in the orthographic drawing. This is the symbol it will use. So if you don't like any of the symbols, this is where you would change it. And just to show how these work, I'm going to go to the north one for the match line, since that's what we're about to do. And I'm going to change that one and no other. And all I'm going to do is simply change the text font once it decides to let me get to the properties here. All right, there we go. The properties panel, I'm just going to change the style to one I already have here in the oven called VI hand. And I'll do the same thing for this one. These are made up of a block. The block is made up of a piece of text and an attribute. So I'm having to change styles separate for each. So the end period being the text and the northing being the attribute that it's going to use. So I'm just changing that text just to show you that when you change it in this drawing, it affects your ortho views. Now, match line is used when you're going to have something that's too large to fit on your title block. So let's go ahead and create a new view. Same 2 drawings. Again, that dialog box is the same thing that you see here with the select model dialog box. I'm going to go ahead and go to my favorite way to look at this. And what you're going to have happen here is when you add a match line, that means you're trying to have a point where it's going to match up 2 drawings that won't fit on one. So we're going to pretend like this is a larger project than it is and won't fit on that E-size drawing by making the scale factor different. Now, we're going to come over here to library and talk about saving later, but this is where you can actually save your Ortho Cube so you constantly don't have to redo it. I've got one already created here called GA, which is basically, when I load it here, I'm just using load Ortho Cube. It is already stretched out above my concrete in this view, and it's already got the depth and the height stretched out. So instead of having to do that over and over and over again when I create new views, I can just load it and I'm good to go. So that's the one for my main arrangement here. Now we're going to take here, and this is the way I like to do match lines myself. First, I like to draw just with an AutoCAD line. Just add a line, and I'm just going to add it in here with keep it straight. And then I'm going to take a look at it in my properties palette. Excuse me. And I'm going to make it an even number. So I'm going to make it, instead of 45.6 and whatever, I'm just making it 45 feet 6 inches on both the start X and the end X, since I'm working in the X direction. So I've got it 45.6. That will give me a nice even number for my east coordinate. So I'm going to take this, and we'll start with the bigger half on the, which is the east side. And all I'm going to do is select this view cube, or Ortho Cube, and select the extension arrow here on the west side, and I'm going to stretch it to the perpendicular of the line I just drew. And that gives me a view cube, or an Ortho Cube. I keep calling it View Cube. View Cube is this one up here. Ortho Cube is this one. The Ortho Cube set a little bit smaller right on that plane. So I'm going to save this using the Save Ortho Cube so that I can save it for another drawing or to recall at any point that I want to. I'm going to call this one GA East and set it like that. Then I'm going to move back to the top. We're going to redo that one. Let me go delete that one. There's one thing I missed. One of the things you have to realize is your scale factor is saved. I just went to load Ortho Cube and deleted that one. That's what I just did. Your scale factor here in whatever view you have here is saved with that Ortho Cube. The reason I want to check that is I'm going to go ahead and make this 1 inch equals a foot. And then we want to check and see if that will fit on our title block page. And I can do that by using paper check right here. So when you go to paper check, basically right here you'll see a white box kind of filtered out right there. And that is my paper size at that scale factor, because it's reading the title block and page setup of the drawing that I'm working with. You can actually see the title block is down here. You don't see my border because they're two different files, so it only shows title block. But it's obvious by the red here that that's way too large to fit on that scale in my that particular sheet. So we're going to try 3/4 inch equals a foot, and it got a little bigger. And again, this is not my sheet. My sheet's this right here in the middle. And you can see I'm still too big, so we'll go ahead and go down to 1/2 inch equals a foot, and there you can see this is going to fit quite nicely on a 1/2 inch equals a foot. So with that, that is what I'm going to save to that Ortho Cube. So I'm going to turn my paper check off. I do want it in the top mode, so I'll save that. And this is the one I'll call GA East. You can't rename these. That's the reason I had to delete it. And you can't override them with a new one. So you have to basically delete it and reset it up. So to show you that it's saved with the scale factor, when I load this back up to the original GA, you can see it's changing it right back to 3/8 inch equals a foot. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch the west side to the perpendicular. And with that, I don't need this line anymore, so I'll erase it. Go ahead and change it to the 1/2 inch equals a foot, since I already know that's the size. And we'll save this as GA-West. That way I can get back to it for adjacent views and other drawings anytime I need to. So in this particular case, that is the view I want. I'm going to turn the match lines on right here so that you can see what happens with that. I usually leave cut pipe symbols on all the time, although it won't really apply to this drawing, but if it did, I'll leave it on all the time. I'm going to go ahead and do OK and place this one right here, and it will create a viewport, and it will have the match lines around it. So up here at the top, you can see there's the one I changed the font on in that original symbol styles drawing, orthographic symbol styles drawing. And then over here, you'll see there's the east 45 feet 6 inches. So it's the exact X dimension that I put in there that I wanted to make this to. And it created the ones on each side. You'll notice this one's west 3 feet. This one's south 3 feet. What it's doing is 0, 0 is right here. So west 3 feet, south 3 feet from 0, 0, and everything else is north and east off of it. So that's how it's coming up with those dimensions, is based on where 0, 0 was in my project. But here you can see 45 foot 6. So if I now came over and opened up this drawing and put the other half on it, doing new view. Okay, all I have to do is go up here to the load Ortho Cube, and this time I'm going to do GA East. It loads it in. We're just going to place it, and you can see this one, once it's created, we'll have an East 45'6" on this side of it. So it gives me a match line. Now, it's right on top of the viewport is this dashed line. It's on top of the viewport, so though the viewport won't plot, I can still see the dashed lines around it. And I could erase what I don't want, but you got to be careful if you're, I probably would erase text and stuff for the match lines I don't want, but then you got to remember to erase them because they become permanent and won't be overwritten. So that's a choice you just have to make. But that's the way I can use the match lines. So next, we're going to take a look at those cut pack symbols, and we'll just do that in a drawing to show you how you can do sections with that view cube. Everything can be handled with the view cube. Let me go ahead and close these, and I'm just going to open up this sheet 5. And once we hit sheet 12 here, that's where we're going to get into some unique stuff. So we're almost to some unique things for those advanced people. All right, going in here to the view cube on this one, that time I just hit edit view and I come in and I see the exact same view cube. It was created originally with that same GA one that I was loading, but this one I'm just doing a section cut below that top level down as low as this bottom level. So I'm not getting the heat exchanger or the pumps or any of this drain is going to show up. It's only going to show me in my view what is in that cube. And again, all I got to do to change the cube size is stretch these arrows on the sides to get to what I want. And let me get to a top view because I'm having trouble seeing the one over there. There it is right there. And you can just stretch it to whatever size you want to. And that's how you do a section cut. Because this one originally was more like this, it's going to do a section cut through this pipe. And since I will do that, I'm going to hit cancel since it's already there. We don't have to wait on it that way. You can see that's where it's putting in the yin yang from those cut symbols that were in that ortho symbol style drawing. So it's pulling these blocks in from those symbol styles. It's using that cube to create these views. And that's pretty much the basics for how everything is working in there. But let's take a look at some unique situations. First, let's talk about the jog. That's a little bit going to lead into what we're going to do with some other things. But this right here is just that front elevation that we did in the very first drawing when I was showing you how it would do a front and cover up printing. So this is that same front elevation. But let's say we wanted to do a section cut like this. I'm going to go back to this first drawing and I'm going to insert this one block once it decides to finish opening it. All right, so I'm going to insert this block that I've got in here to show this, and we'll place it, whoops, right here. All right, so let's say you wanted to do a section cut with some offset sections. So you can see I'm wanting to show a section cut that's going to cut through here to where I'm not seeing this railing and this column's not in the way to see all this pipe back here. Make the turn, see everything normal, and then come in here and I'm just doing a wild thing here and looping in to where I can see what's going on with the pipe and then back out. So I'm wanting to do a section cut like that. It basically is making a couple of turns there. So I can see this is probably overkill here for this one, but it gets the idea across of how to do these types of section cuts because it's very common to have to do offset sections in a project. And so basically to do this, we're going to add a jog, and I'm going to need to add one jog here, a second jog here, and a third jog here in order to do this. So to get these turns, even though this one is going to be similar to the one on the right, I still have to do a separate jog. So 3 jogs is what it's going to take. So let's go back over here to this drawing. We'll do the edit view on it. And we'll go ahead and put it in the view I like. And this is the add jog. Now, up until this point, we pretty much have done everything else that's in here. So this is the last of these on the ribbon menu that we have to worry about. So I'm going to add a jog, and you want to add the jog on the edge of the Ortho Cube at the top, since that's where I'm doing my section cuts. I'm going to add one there. I'm going to come back in. I'm not worried about the location or size at this point. I just want to get the 3 jogs in there. So I've got these 3 jogs in some locations here that are very different. Okay, so here I like to actually put a line again. So keep things similar. So I'm just going to put this here. All right, so we're going to start with this one. I'm going to pull back, because if any of them get to be on the same level next to each other, the jog will be healed and disappear. So the middle one here is one that I need back out here, and the one on the edge is one I need back out here. So I'm going to get both of these pulled out. I don't need that anymore, and I got them nice and even there. So now I just need to set up the rest of the jog. So we're going to come over here, and we're cutting in front of the, behind this column, in front of the heat exchanger like that. And here I'm going to be very specific with the dimension. I've got my dynamic input on, so I'm going to tab over and make this an exact 15 feet. And that's for something else I'm going to do in a minute, is to just to get that to be exactly 15 feet. But you can see it's definitely going to show this turn up here will be without any railing in the way or anything. Over here, I'm not going to be as picky. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this back to where it's after the stairs but in front of that pipe. I'm going to make this on this side of the pipe. I'm going to put it right in front of that support right there. So I'm going to get the pipe in there, go through the cut, and then over on this side, I just want to make sure I'm going to see all of this access back here. So there's my cut, and you can see it's the exact same cut doing right there that I was showing over here on this drawing. It's not going to let me set in this drawing or do anything because I've got the Orthographic View Selection over. It's the same exact cut that we're seeing here. We'll go ahead and say, okay, this is what I'm doing here. And it's a front view. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to turn off the match lines because I'm not using those. We'll go ahead and say okay, and it's going to update this view with all those offset section cuts that I was doing. So you'll be able to see that now nothing blocking the heat exchanger here as far as the railing and stuff like that. I've got the ladder and the railing behind it, which is kind of in the way. And you can kind of see in the concrete here, there's where one cut's going, there's another. Got rid of a lot of stuff in front of this these towers, and then everything over here is back to normal. So you can kind of see how I did that cut. Now right here, let's say I wanted to clean this up a little bit. That ladder in the background makes it kind of hard to read, so I'm going to go ahead and do that also. I just go into the edit view on this viewport, and it remembers all those jogs that I had in there. I'm going to add one more jog here in the back, and then go to a top view where I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to stretch this here to where it's past that drain piping, and here I'm going to go ahead and put in that 15 feet. So it's the same exact spot, and I'll be cutting out that railing and ladder in the background there, and it's going to help really clarify what's going on over there with the heat exchanger, at least in this view. But it's just a method with those jogs for doing these offset sections. And you can get as creative as you want to with them, which I'm going to show you another way to use those in another drawing here as we talk about some things that I've just had questions on in the past with support cases and webinars and stuff like that. So the first thing we're going to do is let's go over here to sheet 3. Or excuse me, sheet 12. That's going to be our final sheet where we're going to do a couple of things that are a little bit unique situations. And to start off to show this, I'm going to do a new view, and I'm going to just quickly create one just to show you what's happening here. We're going to go ahead and load that GA so that we get the one that has all the different views there already stretched out. And I'm going to do a quick stretch here just to show you the situation that I want to deal with. All right, so I've got this Ortho Cube here where I'm going to do just a detail of this area. If I create this as it is right now, you'll notice the rotation. So you can see the rotation here is, this is would be my front view, this would be my right. I'm always used to calling them front and right, but I want this to be rotated to where this is being looked at from that direction. Now what I've found is there's a lot of different people on YouTube videos and stuff that tell you all you got to do is rotate this viewport, and it looks like it works. So if I rotate that viewport and I get this to where I move it where I want it, and that looks like it did a pretty good job, and I'm good to go. I now have my front, this rotated on my page the way I want it. And there's a couple of little downsides to it. One is if I do the adjacent view command up here, and I want to create the front view, and I'm just going to place it right down here below it. You can tell by the size of that viewport, it's not what I expected it to be, because the front view is right here. So this is the front view when I'm doing these adjacent views. So this just gave me what I would have considered my left view in this situation. So a little bit of thinking, and that's not too hard to overcome. I just got to remember, okay, so if that's my front view, this is my right view. So I could easily come in here, and I'm not trying to line them up. I'm just getting the views in here. So that would be my right view. And then I could do one more to the side, and that would be what I was expecting to be my right view over here is actually my back view. So if I come with an adjacent view and do a back here, so that would get me what I wanted right there. So with a little bit of thinking and work around, I can work around this situation and rotate the viewport. Worked pretty good. But that viewport's not going to stay like that with everything that you can do in an orthographic drawing. I'm just going to force it real quick. If you ever do an edit view on that viewport, for instance, this is just one situation where it's going to change, and all I'm going to do is hit OK. What's going to happen is it's going to flip that viewport back to its original rotation. So it's not going to stay put. And imagine if I would have had that already dimensioned and annotated and everything. I'm going to have annotation everywhere and dimensions going to the wrong thing. It's going to be a nightmare if I would have had that fully annotated and stuff. So that's the downside. So what you're seeing there is this is not the way to do it. No matter what you've seen on the internet and stuff, this is not the way to do it. So I'm going to show you how to do it correctly, and it's just as easy to accomplish. So I just deleted those views, and we're going to go ahead and recreate this same situation over again in this orthographic view selection. So let me get right back where I was. We'll load it in, get to the top, and let me stretch it just somewhat close. Not exactly, but we'll just get it over here somewhere in the area where you get the basic shape. All right, so when you're looking at this, this is the front view. If I was to look here, if I was to go to flip it this way, that's the front view. So that's what it's looking. So on this Ortho Cube, that is the front view of the Ortho Cube right there. So what I want is for the front view to be here. So here's the thought process. I need to rotate the Ortho Cube 90 degrees in that direction. It is AutoCAD. If you remember right, AutoCAD rotates in the counterclockwise direction. So that would be a 90-degree positive rotation. If I wanted this to be the front view, then it would be a negative 90 because it's going clockwise rotation. But in this case, positive 90, so I'm just going to select the Ortho Cube and use AutoCAD's rotate command and rotate the Ortho Cube 90 degrees. If you then go here to your home, you'll see the top's right, but if I change to front, there's my front now on that Ortho Cube because I rotated the Ortho Cube to 90 degrees. So it's going to work the way I want it based by rotating that Ortho Cube. That is the correct way because it will remember that. I'm going to go ahead and stretch this to be the size that I want it, which we're going to make it like that. I'm going to just go ahead and take it about right there. And I'm going to take it to about halfway through the stairs for now, just so I can show you something else in a minute. Once I've got it to set the way I want it, I'm going to do OK. And you can see my viewport's rotated the way I want it. I'm going to place it right up here at the top. And now I've got this thing exactly like I wanted it. And when I do the adjacent views, they're correct. So the front, I don't have to rethink exactly how to do this. I'm going to turn on my O-snap and O-tracking and actually line these up this time. So there's my front. And then we'll do the adjacent view for the right side. And I'm getting now the views exactly the way I expect them without having to worry about figuring out in my head the difference. And when I hit edit block view and go back in there, it's not going to change a thing as far as the rotation of those viewports. Now here on this bottom one, it's got a little bit of too much in the background, so I'm going to adjust that one here. So even after the fact, doing adjacent views like that, I can control these individually once they've been created without affecting the others. So I'm going to take, oops, I had my O-snap on. That gets in the way in here. All right, so there's where I'm going to cut. That way, when I'm back in here, I won't see the railing and stairs behind it. It'll be a lot cleaner on this elevation view. So let's say you got another situation here you want to deal with. I just got stairs just kind of hanging out here, and I want to get rid of those and not show them in this view. What I've seen people suggest online is, not that, let me go back and cancel. I've seen people suggest online is just come in here and erase it out of this viewport. Like that. Works nicely. But if you ever update the view, even using the global one, it's going to come right back in there. So it's not a permanent solution. It's a one-shot deal until you update. For that reason, let me show you how you can get that out of your view here permanently. So I'm going to go to the edit view this time, and I'm going to use the jog again. But this time, to make it easier to where I can see what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and isolate and hide the piping, and I'm going to temporarily turn off some steel and concrete things, everything but the railing and the access, because that's what I'm trying to get out, is the railing and access. You can kind of see where that's going through that Ortho Cube right there. So what I'm going to do is add a couple of jogs, this time in the horizontal, or vertical rather. So I'll add one there. Again, I'm not worried about whether it does exactly like I want. This one at the bottom, let me get my line work, because I want it to match my other views. So I'm going to go ahead and get a piece of a line in here to where I have something to stretch to. All right, so down here on this one, I need it to be wide open. So I'm going to go ahead and just overstretch it there so I get the whole corner there. And then in the top part here, I'm going to stretch it back like that. And then we'll go ahead and fix this one to the perpendicular. And this bottom one down here. You can see I don't have to be in the top view to make that work. I just have to have that line in there. So now I've got a chunk taken out in the middle. I've gotten really detailed with these before where I had just a little chunk that was actually closed on both sides just to remove something. It's not that difficult to do. But here, I need to go ahead and get this stretched to where I want it. I know it's just this part that I'm trying to get rid of. As far as height, you can kind of see when I'm in this view here, I want to be now the ortho on, that's going to get in the way. So I'm going to get rid of ortho. I just want to get below that and above that. That's pretty good here on the top part, but I could get lower if I want to. But you can see I'm just getting a chunk taken out of this view where that axis is passing through the Ortho Cube. And when I do that, that will clean up my Ortho Cube over here. If I wanted to do the same, get the same thing in these two, which I have larger Ortho Cubes, I could do that. It's just going to take a little extra work where maybe I do something like this. Come in here and save this Ortho Cube to, I'm going to call this process hours. That was the front view. So we'll call it the front view. Then we'll have one for the other two. So at that point, I could just come in here, edit this one. Again, if I want to make sure it matches that other view, then I probably want a piece of some line work here. So when I load this in with process towers front, and then I could take this and stretch this back to this line work right here. Looks like I missed it. Let's go to the top. Oh, there's part of why I did that wrong there. Let me go fix that. I didn't have my ortho on when I drew this in. So I just used the undo command. Not a good plan. Let's try that line again with my ortho on. Even I make a lot of mistakes. What can I say? All right, so at this point, let's double check that. Yeah, now we got it. Let's go ahead and load the Ortho Cube of this one in. We'll fix. Well, that's an interesting Ortho Cube. What happened there? It almost looks like when I undid it, I have an Ortho Cube on top of an Ortho Cube. I do. Oh, undo is a weird result there. All right, so I got rid of that one. I have never seen it do that before. That was unusual. All right, so there, perpendicular. So you may want to watch. That was very unusual. You may want to watch doing a undo command in this particular environment. Let's see, we're going to save this one as process towers without the word front. And that's just so we can get it on the other one exactly without having to worry about it. We got it, hit OK. You'll see it's going to remove that chunk back there. So you get the idea. It's not too difficult to do. There's a lot you can be as creative. I accidentally had it on front view when I did that, but you can be as creative as you want to. This should be the top, and not have to worry about things coming back. If you need to remove stuff with a jog, getting your rotation, that Ortho Cube is really, really powerful. So there's a lot to do here that you can see, that you can use over and over again to accomplish the views that you need in your project. I am now, since I'm doing this by myself, I am going to go ahead and switch it over to to where I can look and see if there have been any questions, because I haven't been able to monitor that while I was talking here. As you can see, I've got all three of these cleaned up. I'll go ahead and hit save. So let me go over here and first put this on our screen, let you see that we do have some Plant 3D training coming up and some P&ID training, both advanced and new user in the Plant 3D, and we have some quick start. Currently, we don't have a P&ID advanced class on the schedule, but if you're interested in that, you can reach out to your sales rep. And I'll go ahead and while that's on the screen here, let me see if there's been any questions. So looking at the questions, let me pull this off where I can read it a little bit easier by stretching it. So hold on just one little bit. All right, what command setting is changing the paper space view as black and white with the CTB line weight, it seems? What command setting is changing the paper space view as black and white with the CTB? Oh, yeah, it's a CTB. I'm using the monochrome CTB. Let me go over here and back to my screen. So basically, when I'm doing a plot, I'm using this monochrome CTB right here, which I have set for black and white because I do not have a color printer. So I do everything as black and white. So that's the reason I have that. That was set up in my original orthographic template, the one that has my title block and everything in it. So that's where that's coming from. We use BIM and Team and Plant 3D. We have noticed some difficulty using Ortho Cube. At times it was very slow loading into the edit view. And after clicking OK to create the view and before the ortho flattening box appears, do you have any information related to this or helpful tips? So you may want to answer a question for me just because I'm not sure. I want to make sure I'm thinking of this correctly. You're talking about the Ortho Cube and Plant is what's you're having difficulty with. It's very slow loading into the edit view. The only thing I can think of now, that could have something to do with the size of your drawing. It also could have something to do with your graphics card and the amount of RAM you have on your computer. It also could have something to do with how many people are in a project at a time. Projects out of the box are using SQLite. And if you have more than one or two people, it even tells you this when you're looking at the project setting for your your dialog box. I'm going to go into the options here and look at the database setup. You can see here, well, I thought it told you here, maybe it's in the, let's see, oh no, it's in a shared plant content. Where is it at? Maybe I've seen it before where it actually tells you if you have more than one or two people. Could also be when you're creating a new project. I think that, let's look there real quick. A new project, and I'm just going to flip through these to the last one. There you go. That's what I was looking for. If you have a project with more than one or two team members, then you need to be on SQL Server, because SQLite is just going to drag like crazy. So it could also be that. So, or it could be a combination of all those things. You've got too many people using a project, so you should be on SQL Server, or you should want to, yes. It could be, like I said, it could be the amount of RAM you have, the graphics card. There's a lot of different factors that could go into what is causing it to load kind of slowly. So really hard to give you a point blank, this is your issue. It's going to be more of a throw some darts at some different possibilities. If you put jogs in the plan view, will adding a new adjacent view, will it use the jog? Yes, it will. Okay. You saw that here. I had, well, I did these differently, but I'll go ahead and create a left view where I have the jog in this one that removed that stairs. So I'll go ahead and create an adjacent view here, and we'll do the left side. And I'm just going to place it, and those stairs will not be there. So yes, when you're creating those adjacent views, whatever view cube or Ortho Cube was used to create this view is the same one that's used to create this view. And if I went to edit view here, you'll see the jog in there. So you can see the jog in there. Now at this point, I could change it and I don't have to keep it. I could separate it from the Ortho Cube the way I did these up here. But initially, when you use an adjacent view, it will use the Ortho Cube for the view that it's creating the adjacent view from. If I try on a local project, it is very fast, but not on the BIM project. Okay, so you're doing the BIM project. You're talking about being on BIM 360 possibly? Is my screen not sharing? I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I didn't realize I had that on pause. That was an accident. But basically, I created on the answer to the jog, there's where I created the jog there. And it was doing that. So I'll leave that, make sure that stays on pause, off pause. I apologize. All right, so if you're on a BIM project that's on the internet, then that's your issue there. Plant 3D expects the project to be on your local network, not on a network. I have like one client who was trying to share everything from a network that was in Cincinnati, and he was in New York. I don't remember the cities. I'm just giving an example. And he was having all kinds of issues because your content and everything needs to be on the local network. It doesn't have to be on your local computer, but the local network. It can't be on a network somewhere else. And so that would also cause, if the BIM project is somewhere else outside, that would be causing an issue there. Your screen is not sharing, is the one I just fixed. Sorry about that. We are only seeing the training info, not your screen. Sorry about that. Do you know if in the future 3D have automatic annotations and dimensions? I hope so, but right now it's not. Your best bet there is to go to the Autodesk wish list and add it to there. I can tell you that some of that is already on the wish list because I've added the dimension question already to the wish list. Not so much automatic, but mine was more about dimensions being connected to the view, and so if the view changes, the dimensions updated. That's a good idea because you can do that with AutoCAD architecture. My theory is if they can do it with other AutoCAD projects, they should be able to do it here, but you're going to need to get it on the wish list to get that. Yes, we can't see what you're doing. I apologize for that. Got a couple more of those. Let's see. Thank you for your time. I look forward for the link to watch it again. Have a great day. Okay. And then, do you have a suggestion for using ortho functionality to create tank datasheet type drawings when tanks are subject to being moved? Also, is there any way to tag nozzles? Yeah, you can tag the nozzles the same way as you tag anything else. That's done. You have to tag them in the project. But I tag my nozzles. If you were to look at one of my projects, I've got nozzle tags on them. And once you tag them in the source file, then here you just use an annotation tag on those. It's just not going to show up on, well, actually it probably would show up on some of these. Let's see if I came here and did a annotation. I'm not sure if this one is actually created, but if I grab that right there, that's equipment tag. I may not have a tag in this particular project that I can do that with, so it may not be able to do that here. Yeah, I'd have to have a nozzle tag, which I don't have created, I don't think. Yeah, all I've got is equipment tag in here, so that's not going to work on this particular project because I don't have one, but you'd have to create a nozzle tag that would pull that off the equipment. But it is possible. Do you have any suggestions for using ortho functionality to create tank datasheet type drawings when tanks are subject to being moved? Not sure I'm understanding the when tanks are subject to being moved part, but probably if it was me, I would just create a report in the report creator to do the data sheet for the actual tanks. That would be one way. If you can do it that way, though, I could probably create something. It would just take a little bit of effort to do it. The easiest way, though, would be in a report. I do not see any more questions. We'll give everybody another couple of seconds here. Any more questions? I'll give you about 10 or 15 seconds. If I don't see one, then we'll call it a day, and I'll turn it over to Ashley. So Ashley, no more questions. It's over to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Rick. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks for everyone for attending. If you think of additional questions later, you can simply reply to that GoToWebinar email confirmation, and that will come to us, and we can get those to Rick or your salesperson to get your questions answered. Once again, if you could take a few moments to fill out the short survey, we would appreciate it. It will just pop up as we close down today. Thanks for attending, and have a great day, everybody.